Empire. Anyone have the 23-year-old winning a top-heavy PGA? Anyone got a new Philly special cooking up for the NHL playoffs? And how about the Suns taking their bubble restart really seriously? Welcome to the latest episode of OddsUSA.com's betting podcast. I'm Bram Weinstein. We'll do a little line shopping with Brent Booher in a bit, where he is seeing a huge value in the first 5-inning market in the majors, plus a closer look at if the Suns remain a team 2 back before the NBA playoffs begin. But let's start talking the talk with the PGA. Let's welcome in Cam McCann from OddsUSA.com. So I was on Tony Finau, you were on Brooks Koepka, and we got a 23-year-old that ruined the party for everybody, Cam. How about that at the PGA?
Yeah, he is a 23-year-old, but I think that's a future number one we're looking at right there. He is quite a golfer.
He really is. And I think the most impressive part of the whole thing might just be how crowded the leaderboard was with the talent that was there.
Yeah.
And that
really was a Sunday finish.
I mean, it was something else. I mean, you know, we were staring down like a 6-way tie with a couple of holes to go, and then all of a sudden he pulled away.
I was convinced we were going to see a playoff with that bunched up leaderboard, and it was a loaded with talent. I mean, we had KC, Dustin Johnson, like you said, Finau, T2 Tony, Jason Day, Bryson DeChambeau. It was absolutely loaded.
As you see golf the rest of the way here forward, I could argue that this is one of the most talented times in the history of the sport, with the amount of really high-level players that there are going right now. How do you see him kind of fitting in after all of this?
I think the way golf is going, everyone is trying to get longer off the tee. You see Bryson DeChambeau put on, 40, 50 pounds to hit it longer. You see Matthew Wolff pounding it out there. Everyone in the leaderboard is massive off the tee. And then you see little 5'9", 160-pound Colin Morikawa just pipe it down the middle off the drive. He is a pin seeker. It's old school golf, and I think it's refreshing to see. It shows people that you do not need to bomb at 350 yards. It's not, you can play golf in a variety of different ways, and I think he's going to continue to show people and, you know, be a future number one leader future number one ranked golfer in the world. He
had a tee shot on 16 that was one for the ages. I mean, that was unbelievable.
That's a video game shot right there. My jaw dropped when I saw that, and I had him in my DraftKings. I didn't have any outrights to Morikawa, but that was when I knew the stake was put in DJ's heart. I thought he had a little chance there, maybe Casey, but that was absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah. Great start for the major golf season, even if we had to wait so long to get around to it. But great start, great finish, and we'll see where he fits in with all the other greats that are out there right now as they move forward. All right, let's get into the hockey. Last week we were talking about, I love Columbus. I think that nobody has been helped more since the break because of all the injuries they had. And it took them 5 games, but they got through. Their defense was outstanding yesterday. And here's Tampa Bay, who, you could argue is the most talented team in the East, but they got a dangerous matchup here as the playoffs get going for real now.
You know where their thoughts are. I mean, they just got swept last year after being one of the best teams in history. I think they're a little bit nervous right now. Hedman, I don't know what happened to his ankle, rolled it, broke it. I don't know if he'll be playing in this series. Stamkos, don't know if he's coming back. I think they're going to be pretty worried, take this series very seriously starting out.
So if I had to put you on the line, would you bet Columbus to win the series?
I don't know if I could take Columbus. Now we're heading into 7-game series. It's a lot harder to upset than a 5-game series. I'm going to see how it plays out. The only thing I know I will be playing are first period unders. John Tortorella has just gone 5 straight first period unders in that series with Toronto. 2 of those games ended up going over, but if you watch those games, you see how slow he likes to start out. He does not want his team to make the first mistake. He's slowing it down. He's waiting for you. He's baiting you in, and I don't know. That's who I'm rolling with. That's what I'll be rolling with is first period unders 1.5.
Hottest team right now has got to be Philadelphia. Start for them on the round robin, and here they are slipping in as the 1 seed all of a sudden. What do you make of them moving forward?
Yeah, I think I'll be riding Philadelphia. They have a huge goalie to take down here in Carey Price. He just looked like he was back in his Vezina MVP form in that last series. But Philly, in that round robin, they outscored teams 11-3, and those are the best teams in the East, and that really is saying something.
Capitals get their old coach, Barry Trotz, and the Islanders. It took them a little while here to get going, and they just kind of slipped by Boston yesterday. I don't think we've seen. Look, I'm in Washington, and we thought because of the way they started the NHL season that the break would be really helpful for them. They're an older team, they've got a lot of aging veterans. They had slowed down right before the pandemic. And then we thought this would be really beneficial to them, and they have not looked like the team that we thought we might see in the turnaround. So that feels like a toss-up to me. I don't know how you see Caps and Islanders.
Yeah, a lot of these teams, they did not play well in this weird round robin format. So I kind of am waiting to see how they start game one. I don't think Ovechkin even had a point in those 3 games, which is pretty worrisome, but hopefully he gets going. They really need Carlson back. That team has a huge hole back there without Carlson, but I don't know. Barry Trotz, he knows his old team. He's one of the most experienced coaches in the league. I might be leaning Islanders. They have such a structured team, and that really works in playoff hockey. 2 solid goaltenders. A similar team to Columbus. They kind of bait you in, don't make the first mistake, and they'll just shut it down if they get a goal or 2 on you.
All right, and last one is Bruins and Hurricanes, and the Bruins went from the top seed to the 4 seed, so that's a massive disappointment. How do you see them moving forward here?
Well, I think these 2 teams are pretty evenly matched, more so than you'd think skaters-wise. I think Boston has a massive advantage in goaltending. I would take Tuukka Rask or Yaroslav Halak over either of the Carolina goalies, Mrazek or Reimer. But Carolina has a surprisingly deep team, and if they get Dougie Hamilton back, they could give Boston some problems. They have a lot of scoring. Svechnikov is blossoming right in front of our eyes. He's a young superstar forward. I think this series could be a lot closer than it appears. Boston won the season series 1-0 or 1-0. There was only the 1 game played. They didn't get to finish the last 2. But I think this one could go 7. Carolina is a good team. I mean, they went to the conference final 2 years ago when they beat Washington in that game 7 overtime to get there. They've got a young team. They're motivated. I think they could give Boston a run for their money here.
Yeah, Boston is trending the wrong way, but hockey, I mean, it's hockey, it's pinball, and you just never know. Like one result, you never know what the next day is going to be. All right, let's run through the West Series real quick. Flames and Stars, what's your takeaway there?
I think this is the best possible matchup for the Flames here. I don't like how they'd match up with any of the other teams in the West, and Dallas is also another one of those teams that's trending the wrong way. The last time Dallas scored the first goal of a game was February 29th. So obviously that's way back. But that's 7 games straight without them scoring a goal. They do have goal scoring problems. They're a defensive first team, but that's worrisome for me. They lost their coach midway through, and I don't know if they've really bounced back playing under their new coach.
Blackhawks and Vegas. What do you think there?
That's another interesting one. Well, I'm completely on Vegas. I don't even think Chicago should be here right now. They finished last in their division, but they they just outscored Edmonton. That wasn't even playoff hockey. That was shinny. Corey Crawford had an .891 save percentage and went 3-1. That's not going to happen against Vegas. I'm leaning Vegas puck line probably all series and the overs 5.5, 6.5. One thing about Vegas, their new coach, Pete DeBoer, he seems to get the best out of his teams in their first year. His first year with Florida, way back in 2008-09, he had a brutal team, and he went 41-30. I think the best scorers on that team were Stephen Weiss and David Booth. A few years go by, Florida has a few down years. Then he switches teams to New Jersey. First year, they make a run to the finals. That was completely out of nowhere. That was absurd. And then they became a lottery team those next 2 years. Then he goes to San Jose in his first year, takes them to the finals, a team that could never go to the finals. I think this guy is a motivator. I don't know what he does in that locker room to get the most out of his team in that first year, but I really like Vegas to make a run here. I think they could squeak out. I don't know if that's a history trend, if it's a dumb bet, but I am siding with Vegas here. I think they can make a serious run.
I'll tell you the one I like in a minute, but let me just go through Blues and Canucks. The champs get Vancouver. I think that's cakewalk, personally. I think St. Louis gets through the next round easily. You see the same way?
Yeah. Well, they did not look good in that round robin, but they were resting players. Robert Thomas and Tarasenko sat a few games. Binnington looked pretty solid, but
Yeah.
they didn't look good at all. But I do like how they match up with Vancouver. They're a much bigger, stronger, probably more talented team. Quinn Hughes had a hell of a series. I think he led the team in scoring. He's probably been the best defenseman so far in playoffs. I might be looking at prop bets for Quinn Hughes over 0.5 assists. I think he might be getting assists even if they're losing 3-1, 4-1. He's their main facilitator back there. He's doing everything. He's a superstar in the making, and I am siding with St. Louis, but
last one's Avalanche and Coyotes. I'm with you, actually. You're selling me on Vegas a little bit here. I'm kind of riding Colorado. I think they're going to win the West. I think they're going to end up in the Stanley Cup final. And they just, McKinnon looks outstanding. And in this first round series, not unlike the way I feel about the Blues, I think they roll the Coyotes. I don't think that's a competitive series.
The only chance the Coyotes have is if Darcy Kemper can steal some games. He's been playing unbelievable. He was probably leading Vezina conversation before he got injured mid-season. He had a .928 save percentage in the regular season, and then he had a .933 in that first series against Nashville. He's been playing unbelievable. Obviously, goaltending can win you some games. I don't know if it's going to be enough to win a series against Colorado, but they have some goal scorers there. Taylor Hall, Phil Kessel. I mean, they could frustrate Colorado, maybe win a few games. I'm definitely siding Colorado, but this could be a close one. You never know with a hot goaltender what it can do.
So here's my future. I'm going with Colorado. I can't believe I'm saying Philadelphia, but they've just looked so good in this round robin. I feel like they're going to end up in the Stanley Cup final. So I'm going Colorado, Philly. Who do you see as the matchup?
I'm with you on Philly. I'm going to go with Philadelphia and Vegas. I'm going to go with the Pete DeBoer special. He gets the most out of his teams in first year, and this Vegas team is better than it was when they went to the finals 2 years ago. They got a few new scorers. They Pacioretty, I think, is coming back. He wasn't in the round robin, but and they have very deep goaltending. Marc-Andre Fleury didn't play well at all, but Robin Leonard was solid. He was very, very solid, and he's got I think a little bit of a chip on his shoulder here against Chicago, who traded him mid-season. Who knows how that plays in, but I think he's going to want to shut the door on his former team.
All right. We'll see how the bubble hockey plays out in the two cities. Cam McCann from OddsUSA.com. Thanks, Cam.
Thanks for having me on, Bram.
Up next, Brent Booher sees a strong trend in the first 5 inning market of the MLB restart. That's next on the OddsUSA.com betting podcast.
Enjoying the podcast and feel like taking advantage of our experts' advice? Or maybe you think you know better and want to fade everything you just heard. Whatever your pleasure, place all your bets with OddsUSA.com. That's right, at OddsUSA.com we have everything your sports betting heart desires. From game odds covering the spread, over-unders, and money lines, to futures betting as well as prop bets and best bets. OddsUSA.com is your one-stop shop for placing all your sports bets this season. When it comes to legal online sports betting, OddsUSA.com has you covered. Head on over to our website right now and find the best way to make the most money. You can do that by easily comparing which sportsbook is best for your bet, then just click on the action button and put your money where your mouth is. The best bets and deals take only a minute to complete, so head on over right now to OddsUSA.com and take advantage of all our offers today. That's ODDSUSA.com and get started today. And happy betting.
Let's welcome in Brent Booher from OddsUSA.com. Hey, Brent, how are you?
How's it going, Bray?
I'm doing all right. Hey, let's start in the bubble in Orlando. Let's take a look at the futures market. Now that we're getting close to what would be the start of the traditional playoffs. What are you seeing so far?
Sure. Yeah, there actually isn't a whole lot of movement at the top of the board right now, Brent. The Bucks and Lakers are still your consensus kind of 1-2 favorites at the top. The Clippers are still right there as well, just right beneath the Lakers. But obviously the big story of the bubble so far has been just the surprise of the Phoenix Suns, how successful they've been. As of this recording, they're still undefeated in the bubble. They started as 55-1 long shots to make the playoffs, but now they're only a game and a half out of that final 8 spot. So if you took a shot at that 55-1 future at the start of this bubble, you're sitting pretty right now. But their title chances, they haven't moved too much. They're still very down on the Suns to make this a really historic run. They have moved up to 150 to 1 to win the title, up from 250 to 1. But right now, really the biggest moves that you're seeing in Orlando on the futures board, the Sixers with the Ben Simmons injury have dropped all the way to 55 to 1 after they opened the bubble at 27 to 1 to win the title. And then Toronto, because of that Philadelphia injury situation, the defending champs, I feel like they kind of get lost in the shuffle. We forget that they won the title, but they have moved from 24 to 1 to 13 to 1 to go back to back in Orlando.
I mean, God, they feel like the wrong side, but they don't lose. I mean, like pre-pandemic, they had that ridiculous win streak, and honestly, they're give whatever award you want to them for the way that they bounced back without Kawhi Leonard this year. But I can't bring myself to think they're winning a championship again, just not with the players that are on the court.
Yeah, the fact that they've continued that success, I don't think many people expected that when Kawhi left to Los Angeles in the offseason, but the fact that they've seemingly got nearly, I mean, they're right there compared to what they were doing a year ago. I mean, Kyle Lowry and Pascal Siakam have just played their minds out, and this team is just deep. So wouldn't sleep on them just yet. The other team, Bram, you mentioned, Portland, they're also in the mix for that last 8 seed. They have moved from 160 to 1 to 71 to win the title. Obviously, they would have a pretty difficult road ahead of them. They would have to likely get past the Lakers at the top. And then you're looking at that 4-5 situation where there's a lot of good teams kind of muddled there.
I mean,
Western Conference.
Let me go back to Phoenix for a second. I mean, because if they do slip in, they'll slip in as the 8 seed. They'd get the Lakers, and the Lakers have been very up and down. But I just don't know how serious they're taking this. LeBron didn't play the other day. Like, it's just hard to know what their motivation is. But the way Phoenix is going, they're dangerous. They look like they are really dangerous right now.
Absolutely, and then with Devin Booker. I mean, anything's possible the moment he catches fire. I mean, he can kind of will a team to a victory on his own, seemingly. I mean, we saw him take over in that game against the Clippers. And like you mentioned, I mean, it's hard to kind of gauge the interest level of these teams that already have everything wrapped up. But, I mean, they certainly don't look like the team they did prior to all the pandemic and everything kind of uprooting everything. So.
All right, at time of the taping here, we've got the start of the NHL playoffs for real, as we have the matchups now. The shocker for me is Philadelphia. I don't know if it is for you, that they ended up with the 1 seed. I guess, listen, they only had to win 3 games, but they've done it emphatically over the 3 teams that they played. So where are you on Philadelphia right now?
Yeah, obviously when we started this kind of NHL bubble, a lot of the talk circulated around last year's Cup finalists with Boston and St. Louis. But after the round robin tournament and the qualifying tournament, we've actually seen the board adjust to reflect that flyer change, as well as the Colorado and Vegas Golden Knights success out west. So now we actually have 3 leaders at the top of the board, Bram, that are your co-Stanley Cup favorites, and it's Colorado, Vegas, and Philadelphia. They're all at 6 to 1. PointsBet is kind of an anomaly right now. They have Vegas listed as the outright short favorite at 5 to 1, with the Avs and Flyers right behind them at 6 to 1. But for the most part, you're seeing the Flyers reflected now as the Stanley Cup favorites after that round robin tournament. Whether or not you want to buy into that, I mean, that remains to be seen. Kind of a nice segue off of that, though, with the Flyers and the Knights. They're both getting the 12 seed entrance, basically. They're reseeded as the 8 seed now. But if you do dare to fade those 12 seeds that managed to get into this tournament, you can take a sweep. These are pretty interesting props that I thought, anyway, from DraftKings. The Flyers to sweep the 12-seeded Montreal Canadiens pays at 6.5 to 1 right now, and the Vegas Golden Knights pays at 6 to 1. So pretty good value there if you want to just take a shot at a sweep. Obviously, though, the NHL playoffs are a much different animal than what we expect.
Yeah, and you are betting against the carry price can't steal one. If you do that, just steal one. Just steal one, and you're in trouble there. But there's good value there, obviously.
Tread lightly there.
Yeah, tread lightly.
Is definitely there.
All right, so that's where the value is there. All right, let's talk about Major League Baseball a little bit now. Sure. What you're seeing a ton of unders. I mean, we're all seeing a ton of unders here. Is there anything to attribute that to at this point?
It's really hard to say, Bram. It could go either way, I guess. I guess in theory, you would think that the pitching would kind of be ahead of the batting. But we have played baseball now, believe it or not, for almost going on, I believe, the third full week. So it was kind of a rocky start to the season with the COVID-19 issues in Miami and Philadelphia and all throughout Major League Baseball. But knock on wood, it's been going a little bit smoother the last few days. Hopefully that continues. But in the meantime, we are seeing unders come in pretty consistently. One market that I really like to kind of hone in on, I think there's a lot of value here, just because a lot of people don't really dive into the first 5 innings side of baseball. A lot of bettors will just bet on the full game, but some first 5 innings trends for the listeners to kind of pin on a wall and think about it. Obviously, you don't want to, just assume that this is going to continue every game. But so far, through the first 15, 16 games, the Colorado Rockies have just been unbelievable in the first 5 market. They've gone under 13 of their 15 games. They have won their first 5 money line in 10 of their 15, with 2 of those being just ties. So, in a sense, they're 10-3 in that first 5 money line. And then conversely, their division foe, you're going to want to fade the Arizona Diamondbacks, who've not been very good out of the gate, especially in the first 5 innings. On the money line, they are only 2-12-2 right now, Bram. And if you are one of those bettors that just can't take an under, that has to root for offense, you're going to want to ride the Yankees and Houston Astros right now. They have both gone over the number in the first 5 innings in 10 of their first 15 games.
Huh. The Rockies, it's so hard to figure. I mean, it really is. I mean, who would have put their money on them initially? It's really amazing, especially when you go under. You just think of them. It's just crazy.
Yeah, the Rockies and the Marlins have absolutely been the 2 kind of darlings out of the gate. The Rockies especially. I mean, who knows how long this ride's going to last with the Dodgers and Padres in that same division, but so far they've been outstanding out of the gate. And we've been accustomed to the Rockies being this offensive powerhouse.
Yeah.
Right now they've relied a lot on pitching and just timely hitting. So it's not the Rockies we're used to seeing, and it's kind of fitting because it's not the baseball season we're used to seeing right now. Either.
And I mean, like the Marlins is crazy because half the team isn't the team that they would field out there, and they're one of the least competitive teams coming into it anyway. I mean, like they are almost an impossibility, in my opinion, to try to really get a gauge of, because you don't know day to day who's going to be playing, and you don't know how competitive they're going to be.
Absolutely, yeah. You have to be quite the baseball purist, really, to kind of recognize who the Marlins have out there in a given day.
Yeah.
So the fact that they've started the season, considering everything that they've dealt with already, is really something to see. So, and with the expanded playoffs, I mean, who knows? We might get one of these teams in there, and that could really make things different.
Yep. Brent Booher from OddsUSA.com. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks so much.
Sounds good. Thank you, Brent.
Up next, James Tillman on the Bucks Raptors and the Lakers Nuggets. This is the OddsUSA.com betting podcast.
Backed by one of the biggest online gambling companies in the world, OddsUSA.com is your one-stop shop when placing a bet this season. In partnership with the best sports books across the U.S., including DraftKings, FanDuel, and many, many others, with OddsUSA.com, you are sure to find the best deal before placing your next bet. Head on over to OddsUSA.com right now and find the bet that works best for you. Whether you want to bet the spread, an over-under, or the money line, OddsUSA.com has you covered with all the latest deals and promotions from across the online sports betting industry. Find the deal that's best for you and place your bet right now. Or read previews and betting tips from our team of experts and then put your money where your mouth is. Whatever your pleasure, go to OddsUSA.com right now and get started today. That's OddsUSA.com, ODDSUSA.com, and place your bets now. Good luck.
Let's welcome in James Tillman from OddsUSA.com and focus in on the bubble in Orlando as the NBA is streaking towards starting their playoffs. Hey, James, how are you?
Okay, what's up, Brent?
I'm doing all right. I mean, hottest team, the Phoenix Suns. I don't think I ever would have called that on the comeback, but here they are 5-0. They're scoring a ton of points. They look great.
Yeah, that makes two of us. I think many were under the impression why even invite them because they were so far back in the standings, but in the Western Conference standings. But as you mentioned, they're the only undefeated team in the bubble, and they're 1.5 games behind the Grizzlies for the 8th spot, and I believe they're 1 game behind the Blazers for that 9th spot for potential play-in series.
So are you buying them as, I mean, even if they got in, are you buying them as dangerous if they were able to get into the 8th seed?
Well, I would say before the bubble restart, I would probably say no, but right now, based on how they've been playing, they're playing with a lot of confidence. I don't know if they quite have what it takes to knock off the Lakers, even though the Lakers have been struggling. I know we'll touch on them in a little bit, but I think they might be able to take a game off the Lakers if they were to somehow sneak into that 8th spot.
Yeah, they've got 3 games to go here, including today, Oklahoma City, then they get the Sixers, and then they get Dallas. What are you looking at today with them? You think they keep rolling here?
I like their chances against Oklahoma City. But despite, even if they decided to run, even if they were able to run the table, they're still going to need some help with the teams in front of them. So I'll be interested to see what Portland and San Antonio does the rest of the way as well.
As far as a betting matchup goes, how do you kind of view them now at 5 games into this thing?
Like I just mentioned, they would have to run the table to give themselves a chance to get in, but I mean they're playing with a lot of confidence. And I also would like to add that they hadn't won more than 3 games in a row all season. So I think that teams playing with house money, no pun intended, as the saying goes, and playing with a lot of confidence, they can sneak up on a few teams.
All right, let's get into the Lakers here, who are likely to be the 1 seed, taking on the Nuggets today. What do you see today with that?
Well, the Lakers, like you mentioned, they clinched the top overall seed in the West, but they've been struggling since they've clinched that 1 spot. They've lost their last 3 games, 2 of those by double digits. They fell to the Thunder by 19, and then the Rockets by 16. Although LeBron James, I know he set out that loss against Houston. So, and despite their play on the defensive end, they've been struggling from an offensive standpoint. They're shooting 41% from the field and just 25.4% from 3-point range. So I know from what I can tell, they're like a 5.5 point favorite, but being at the Nuggets, they're a game behind the Clippers for that 2nd spot.
Yeah.
I think they have more to play for. So I could see the Nuggets winning this game, just despite the way that the Lakers have been playing over their last 3 outings.
You'll get a nice payday moneyline Nuggets today if you go that direction. You'll get one. It's hard to tell motivation right now. I mean, I think until we get into the actual series with teams, isn't it? It's hard to tell what's what at this point.
Yeah, it is, and I've seen Anthony Davis was supposed to be the 2nd star alongside James, and outside of the Utah game and some of these outings, he's looked rather passive. I know there were games where he took like only 7 shots and 9 shots, and going into the playoffs, you don't want your 2nd superstar on team playing at that level. So I'm like I said, they have the best overall record in the West, but I'm kind of concerned for them right now going into the playoffs. They just haven't been playing all that great as of late.
Let's get into the other to the Eastern Conference, where we've got a rematch of the Eastern Conference Finals today, Bucks and Raptors. I mean, Toronto, but pre-pandemic, I think they were probably the biggest surprise in the league, the way that they were going without Kawhi Leonard. And here they are, and they picked up where they left off. They're dangerous.
Yeah, they are, and saved the 22-point loss to the Celtics, and they're 4-1 in the restart. They have the 2nd-best record in the East. I believe this is their 5th straight season in which they posted 50 wins. And they're 1st in scoring defense, and they have the 2nd-best defense overall in the league. So they're definitely very dangerous. Although they have yet to beat the Bucks this season, and both of those losses have come by double digits.
So you're on the Bucks today, I take it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with the Bucks today. Even though they too have had their issues as of late, they're 2-3 in the restart, and they've dropped 3 of their last 4 games. And although they're the top defensive team in the league, they've given up at least 112 points in each game with the Buffalo.
Yeah, I mean, this goes back to the motivation question again. I mean, they're the top seed in the East. They're just kind of coasting along here. Toronto's probably going to be the 2 seed. They just need another win to make sure that that's going to happen. I mean, the motivation is clearly on Toronto's side today.
Yeah, I would agree. And as you said, I think that a lot of us, not just Kawhi Leonard when he left, but Danny Green as well, the consensus was for the most part that this team is going to have a difficult time getting out of the East again. But they're right there. And even as you mentioned, pre-pandemic, they were missing key players at various stretches. Yet they're right in the thick of it.
Yeah, I mean, they've been the biggest surprise of the season. I think everyone assumed there would be just a massive drop-off when Kawhi left and went to the Clippers, and it's been nothing short of incredible. I mean, the fact that they are here right now with the record that they have, I don't think anyone saw it coming. Overall, with the NBA and the bubble, are there any trends that you're watching as they wind down all of this, finishing out the regular season?
Well, we know there's nothing really going on in the East, but the West, now we're guaranteed a play-in game. So I'm interested to see how Portland and Phoenix go. Don't get me wrong, I like San Antonio too, but I think if you're from a entertainment/excitement standpoint, I think you're trying to see if the Blazers, they were kind of left for dead. They weren't considered a playoff team, and rightfully so. They weren't playing all that well before. Yeah, they got off to the hot start, but then things started going south for them, and now here they are right in the thick of things. So I would personally keep an eye on how those 2 teams, the Blazers.
Yeah, and I think the other bet is Devin Booker is going to have a lot of interest from really good teams that want to try to acquire him after this.
Oh yeah, definitely. During the bubble, his averages are 29.4 points and 6.4 assists a game. You know, DeAndre Ayton is also playing. He's putting up almost a double-double, 18.2 points, 9.8 rebounds a game. So they definitely, if there's any team that has benefited from the bubble restart, it's definitely been the Phoenix Suns.
James Tillman from OddsUSA.com. Thanks, James.
Thanks, Brent. Appreciate it.
You want to play a real hunch? Think the fix is in for the Pens? Go check the Reddit boards of hockey fans who think Pittsburgh getting knocked out by a 12 seed only means they're going to somehow end up with hockey's first overall draft pick. On the ice, it does feel like the East is a little upside down with the teams left. Carolina, plus 130. Islanders, plus 160. Columbus, plus 185. Want to take a shot? How about a 3-team series parlay of underdogs, none of which feel like underdogs entering their series? And that'll do it for this episode. See you Thursday on the OddsUSA.com betting podcast.